Okay, this is Kyle Davis, week 2 on project for uh, Game Design Workshop 2. Things have been a little weird this week. I've been doing a lot of research and trying to plan shit out. So there's not a lot of content done through the main stuff that I've been working on, as there was quite a lot of stuff I had to get working in order to make it functional. So I've been testing around one of my other scenes throughout the week when I have time for some of the principles that I need to learn. And I can't show you it, but on my whiteboard I have quite a long string of complex stuff that doesn't look like anything. That's helping me try to figure everything out from the structure of how I'm handling everything in Blackboard. Because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, since it loads, make a secondary string that comes off the main portion over here. So I'm going to have to make another thing that comes off here and follows down more into the attacks, which then references off this into scripts. So I needed to learn something about dispatchers. So I've been looking into that and how they work for what I need, which ends up going through here for certain things such as this, where you have to make your own custom events and authorities and stuff, where it has to reference a bunch of things that you don't always need, but help a lot. And because these also work as events, custom events that allow you to do stuff, you can reference any number of them. So I've been trying to use those with some of the code I've built beforehand to try to make something that'll work for this new game. So I have that going. I also have some stuff I'm looking at with widgets and stuff for how I set that up in this previous game as well, as there was a lot to go over. And then I started looking into how we're doing our saving so that I can get this to work to persist data for unlockables in our game. So it's fairly easy. It's just setting up this string here to work. But I need to refresh myself on where I put the variables, as there's certain stuff I need to put into our save subclass, which is a separate component I had to make, and then make all the variables in that. So I need to actually show where all of our last location, start location, and all these variables that I have to then specify go within itself, and what I need to define in there, and everything has to be set correctly, and then I need to set a pathing to that, which I need to wait because I don't want to upload this into our Git Kraken and then cause something to go wrong because it's checking the same save data over and over and changing meta files. So there was a problem with that, so I didn't want to overload everything. Along with that, I've been looking at interfacing dispatchers through behavior trees, and then also trying to get, what was it, arrays. I think it was a certain type of array that allows me to do something on a larger scale. Yeah, it was a miscellaneous here. What was it? So it was a data table, and specifying stuff in a data table to set up check strings for me to be able to get more smart AI for when it would attack. But I think I can get everything to work through what I have. It's just going to take me a little bit longer, so I wanted to really spend a lot of time this week setting up all of the basic concepts so that I know what's going on, so that when I go in next week, I'm going to have a lot of debugging to do, and I'm going to have to link things in a very unoptimized way. So I just wanted to make sure that these were set correctly so that I can make the things that do these weird random variable checks. So when you look in like our close enough, once this loads, there's quite a bit going on here that it needs to run through, and this is the main one we have, but it needs to check all these other modifiable things that we have to be able to see, and we have to set the right things to it, and it has to check our pawn and controller and the values on Blackboard, and then we need to make sure that it's seeing the blackboard and it's going through correctly. So there's a lot to do that is kind of confusing, and I'm still trying to grasp all of it, but I think I'm getting there, and I'll actually have a lot more progress next time around because I'll have a lot of the mechanics in, and then we can start modifying through them. And I'm still one thing I still need to look into is setting up how we're going to get our bullets to work, which I'm assuming is going to be through emitters, and I'm looking into that. I just did a precursory glance of about like 2 hours worth of research. Nothing definitive yet. It is a way to handle it, but it's not potentially the most optimized thing. The secondary character to show off some of the stuff, but it's you just add stuff into the main thing of an area where it would go. So I got to set up all the animations and do all the scene stitching. So that's another thing I'm looking into starting this next week is stitching animations and calling the functions of an animation because there's quite a lot that we have and I'd like to use them so that we can use our really cool AI and have animations for it because we have one of the Paragon assets that has quite a lot of animations that are all really cool. So I love to use them and set up emitters and stuff so that it actually shoots from its gun and from its torso for certain attacks and references everything there. So we're working towards that. Um, just a lot of research as this is very complicated and I'm having a hard time grasping everything since I'm not very code oriented with it. So tune in next time for some more actual work, but just showing some of my thought process and where I'm looking towards going with my research as a whole.